Hey guys, just released my first interview video on Friday, so I was delighted to get that done. That went really well with my good mate Ushin from CFT, Compassion Focused Therapy. Bank holiday weekend, I just thought I'd release another video. Just want to clarify something, so I uploaded a video about a week ago, and it's just about a recent diagnosis that I had. Just EUPD traits, so emotionally unstable personality traits. And I just kind of wanted to clarify that I felt like it was probably a bit too raw in my head for me to make a video about that, so I'd like to touch on that when I'm, a bit more comfortable with it and we've come to terms with it a bit better. Um, yeah, a lot of emotions are still very raw in that video, and like I've been through a lot, my family have been through a lot, and nobody's perfect. I feel like maybe it was a bit harsh, and it certainly came across that way when I look back at it a third time. I usually watch the videos back, and I did this time, but yeah, definitely felt like it was maybe a bit harsh. So just didn't really want to leave it up there, So I don't want to make another video about that in the future. But anyway, what I want to touch on this video is autism and relationships, dating, more so for me because I found it very hard to have any kind of relationship. So yeah, it's been very tough for me, and I guess let's just start by saying I was pretty much, you know, asocial when I was younger. I didn't like socialising at all. Very withdrawn from people. Was into fitness and sport hugely, but when you're into team sports, you got to obviously play with other people, and that was very challenging for me. So I didn't really like that aspect of it. I didn't see the point in it. I just thought sport is sport, and then when I'm done with that, I go home and watch some sport on the TV. And yeah, I guess I didn't start really developing an interest in the opposite sex until I was older than most kids. So like people in school were showing interest from an early enough age. Like probably they started at about 11 or 12. I only really started at 15 or 16. Um, Getting obviously attracted to girls my own age. Like it used to be weird. Like I used to have fantasies obviously about people I thought that were attractive on the TV or whatever, but it was kind of really in depth fantasies about who I was going to marry and like planning stuff way down the line. Like thinking, will I have kids? Won't I have kids? And all this stuff. And yeah, it was unusual to say the least. Then I started getting attracted to people that I was meeting because like, if you're not meeting anyone, how are you going to be attracted to people that you interact with? But I started meeting more people, and then obviously start getting involved and talking to them, realizing that there are girls out there who liked me as well. That's a tough one, because I had to learn new skills. Like a lot of times, as I said before, when I'd be talking to people, I'd be looking away like that, um, unable to focus on them. I was very asocial. Weird, like it's almost painful looking back on it now. So this video was difficult enough to make. It didn't know how I was gonna do it, to be honest with you. But I think it feels right now, and just want to make a video talking about it because it's something that I found a very big challenge. Like I start going to house parties when I was 15, 16, having had pretty much very little experience. Like there were loads of lads who would experience kissing girls and hanging around girls, and I just didn't have that. Like I was really naive. So like I came into it like at such a disadvantage because I was so inexperienced at it, and then I was kind of trying to act like I knew what I was doing, if that makes sense. So it was like, oh, you know when you do this with a girl, and yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, yeah. I was like, I haven't a fucking clue what they're talking about, um, and one of my mates got me my first kiss with a girl, and that was really awkward. I remember we were sitting on the couch and saying, oh, he used to, how he used to say it was, oh, will you meet him? Will you meet her? Your mate would go up and ask for you. And then it was like, will you meet him? Will you meet her? And then if the girl said yes, you were like, oh, I'm in there. And then if she said no, you were like, oh, fuck, but at least my mate is the one that gets the negative news and not me. So you kind of save yourself. You kind of look a bit desperate if you go up yourself, which I have done. I look like such a creep. Still do in some ways, trust me. But yeah, it was kind of like, oh, I've ticked something else off the bucket list. But it's for this generation to be so immature, and I'm no different. Like I'm really immature in some ways, and in other ways, people say I'm wise. But I can be really childish in other ways. And yeah, it's just felt like I was playing catch up all the time. Like, oh, you've kissed a girl, great. Yeah, that's ticked off. Such a relief. But the amount of lads like that say, "Oh, what did you get off her?" Like all this sort of thing, and I was no different. Like, in this thing of, oh, what you get off her, and it's really just looking at a woman as a piece of meat, and I wouldn't dare say that when I was younger. I will own up to the fact that I was quite misogynistic in some ways myself, because that's how we all were. And I'm not excusing it, like it was completely wrong on my part, and I feel ashamed of that a lot of times, because that's how I was, and a lot of men in my family were the same way, just they'd be nice to a young girl's face, and then she was attractive, and they'd be saying all sorts of things about her behind her back, and it's just creepy. And like family members of mine, I was there like, fucking hell, that's sick. But of course, if you say that, it's kind of like, oh, you're too soft, or you big girl's blouse. I'll have to be careful. I don't want to say anything too derogatory, but you know what I mean. They'll say you're soft, or grow up hair, and might even just make a noise, like ooh. They used to get that all the time, where I'd just be ooh, and people just saying that you're too touchy, you know. Um, yeah, like I mean, anybody ever watched the 40-year-old virgin? And I'm saying I'm not going to say anything derogatory, but when he's sitting around, and the one of the dads at the, what was it again? They were doing sex education. It was like a father daughter or father son, fathers and their kids anyway. And they find out that Steve Carell is a virgin at 40, and then one dad says to him, "Man, you putting the pussy on a pedestal?" And he just says, "Is that a thing?" Everybody keeps saying it, and basically what they're insinuating is that he's got too much respect for women, from what I'm saying. Like he's basically treating women like they're sacred and precious, and he needs to just go out there and realise that they're just people as well, and talk to them. And there's truth to that as well, Like I don't think it was meant in a in a disrespectful way, although it certainly sounds like it. But you kind of fantasize and you build up this image in your head, and I think we're all guilty of it, but I definitely am. This romantic sort of crap. But the end of the line is end of the line. We're not talking about the end just yet. The bottom line is what I'm saying. Bottom line basically is that you got to go out and meet people, find out what you like and what you don't like, what women you're attracted to, what women you're not. And like I've met women that, you know, there was some physical attraction there, but then like I'm not saying they were ugly, by the way. What I'm saying is you weren't necessarily physically attracted at the beginning, but you talk to them and they go up a lot. Like you think, oh, I really like this person's personality. I'm very attracted to them now, having gotten to know them. And I think that's a good thing, especially with me, is that I do find women more attractive having gotten to know them. And then like there'd be a woman who looks really good looking, or girl your age. I keep saying woman, but you know, that's what I'm saying about sounding wise. But you see a girl your age who is like stunning to look at, and she's really beautiful, but she's shallow and has no personality really. She just wants you to buy her stuff, and that I wouldn't go for that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying that I'm a stunner by any means. I know I'm not, but um, I won't even waste my time with a girl who I know is way out of my league physically. You know, and buy her a lot of stuff because what's the point? You know, just for sex, is that it? So, not being funny, but you could, if you're looking for an orgasm, you can play with yourself. I know it's not the same, but it's not that big a deal. I think we put too much emphasis on sex. Now, maybe that's just me, you know, but I've never understood, like, being in a relationship with someone you clearly have no chemistry with just so you can get the ride off them. And that seems to be a lot of people from my generation. Like, I remember before going on a date, like my, sorry, just get a drink. I've lowered my dose of Lexapro, by the way, so that should hopefully help with the dry mouth. But yeah, I remember like first proper date I'd say I went on. Um, I'd been on, you know, like when you're a kid and you go on a little one and you hug a girl, but it was so awkward, like so I wouldn't even call that proper. Um, my mate and his girlfriend, they arranged it like it was one of her friends who fancied me, and so I thought, oh okay, no girls ever fancied me before, so this is great, you know. Very anxious, you know. I was there thinking, oh, I don't want to mess it up. Um, but I was also feeling like, you know, when you get so anxious that you want to call the thing off. No, I didn't, and I went on the date, but there wasn't much physical attraction there. I'm not saying there was none, but I was there thinking, oh well, you know what, give it a chance, see how you get on. And I just felt like I had to drag the conversation out, and it felt so awkward. Um, it felt like texting was just going to be the thing, and a lot of people are like that, where it's just text, and I'm more so, you know, I would rather see you in person. If we like each other, let's meet up. Do you know what I mean? And safe to say, there was no chemistry whatsoever, and oh, I just wanted it to be over. The date was so fucking awkward, and that fizzled out. You know, I was texting. I was at work one day and I didn't text back for like 2 hours, and my mate was calling me saying, "Oh, you can't treat her like that. You know, you're disgraceful." And I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" Because like I don't pick up on the dating rules. If you like, I like to be chivalrous and pay for stuff, and I like to be decent on the date, you know. But just some of the shit that you have to follow drives me mental. You know, you don't want to come on too strong, you don't want to be too desperate, but you also don't want to leave her on scene. You know, basically not replying for ages, but you also, if you reply too soon, it's like, what is the fucking perfect time to respond? What is it? And people will probably say, oh, don't you know? Like, such an amateur, like, you don't know that. Well, no, I don't, so I'm an amateur then. um, you know, I'm not the ladies' man, so I don't know all this shit. And I don't see the point in it either. Um, yeah, like, I mean, I've been on a couple of dates, but like that was the starting point, and I remember just thinking, "There's no attraction there." I was What surprised me more was my mate's reaction, not the fella who set it up now, but the other lads were just saying, "Oh, would you not have just stayed with her so you could get something off her?" And I was like, "What? No." And they were like, "Just so you can say you got whatever." You know, I'm not going to mention words because I'm trying to keep it PC as much as I can. But you know what I mean. Any of the lads my age will know what I mean. Um, just to get experience, you know, sexual experience, and it's kind of like that's fucking ridiculous. There's no attraction there, and then you're dragging something on. Then you get more involved with her, And it's kind of like, oh, you're breaking up with me now, and she gets upset. And people are so dramatic nowadays, and they love creating drama where there is none. And I'm not arsed for it, you know. It just isn't something that I care for. Um, yeah, and then like I brought one of my mate's sisters on my Debs, and I fancied the pads off her. Like I really did. I want to be careful how much detail I talk about, but yeah, I really fancied her. That didn't work out, and I was devastated. But kind of felt a bit awkward about that. Do you know what I mean? Where she asked me if I had anyone to bring on my Debs, and I said, "Oh no, like I wanted to ask you, but I thought you'd say no." She said yes. I got my hopes up, and then she was kind of avoiding me, like I'd done something wrong, and I kind of felt like, "Oh, what the fuck's going on here?" Um, and I just kind of thought, "What have I done wrong?" Like I feel really awkward about a lot of things, and looking at other lads that night who were treating their girlfriends like shit. Literally, heard one lad when his girlfriend asked him would he buy her a drink? He was like, I paid for your fucking ticket, didn't I? You know, get your own drink. I was like, fucking hell. Wouldn't even dream of speaking to a girl like that. And then she's crying and all this, but then you see the pictures, oh, had a great night, and it's a load of bollocks. Like, it's bullshit. And there's me going out my way to be nice to my date, but, there's nothing happening there. Um, and I feel like sometimes I am too nice, to be honest. Now, I wasn't perfect, and I've done a lot of things that I'm not very happy about. I get very emotional, I overreact to stuff. Um, she was the one I proposed to, yes, FYI. But, it was an awkward situation, and I wasn't in a good headspace mentally, so yeah, probably not in a space to be dating anyone, if I'm being honest, or getting a relationship. But um, that one really upset me because that was like my first big crush, you know. And like I say, I was so naive that I hadn't a clue what you were supposed to do, what you weren't supposed to do. I was just like, oh, I love you, marry me. And that could be the EUPD traits where I get very emotional and very strong emotions, which I have gotten before. Like you say with autistic people, it's they can be flat emotionally. Do you know what I mean? Like they're quite emotionless, which is often why there's a bit of overlap with another personality disorder called schizoid, where it's just that flattening. You're not excited, you're not sad, you're not happy, you just show basically nothing. And those conditions are misdiagnosed often, so that wouldn't explain my strong emotional reactions. You know what I mean? Um, so literally, like if I do have, well, I do. The doctor told me they didn't say whether I have EUPD slash BPD because it used to be called borderline personality disorder. Um, but I definitely have traits. They said, and this was a psychiatrist. They didn't say I have the disorder, but they said there's definite traits there, and basically means that I'm probably one of the worst people in the world to date because I'm autistic, so I don't read social cues. I don't pick up on stuff. Now I actually do pick up on stuff, but I can read into stuff too much sometimes, and I get very anxious around people. And I'm looking at people and wondering why are they looking back at me, and I'm paranoid and like, oh, what the fuck do they want? And can get quite agitated. I can dissociate as well. It's a tricky space to be in because then I react very strongly emotionally, and I get the dissociation, the paranoia. I try and keep a hold of my anxiety and my anger. Um, there's definite traits there for sure. Anger used to be a very prominent emotion that I had, and I couldn't control it. Luckily, I've had therapy, like a lot of therapy, and I've dealt with a lot of things. And I also understand that other people have feelings, and if they're being nice to me, I don't want people to look at me and think, oh, this fella's fucking crazy, we don't want to be with him, he's a lunatic. So I don't want to cut people off, I don't want people to be scared. There's a lot of shit going on, basically my head is a mess, and that's why I started this YouTube channel in the first place. But yeah, it was definitely like something that I couldn't explain, like the thinking of I was literally in love, like a fairy tale or some shit, and it clearly wasn't now that I look back at it, but that's how I felt at the time, 100%. Um, so, yeah, since then, I've been on more dates and I've definitely gotten more confidence around women through college, being in college, and just meeting decent, good looking, and intelligent young women that had a connection with. But yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough. Like, I'm even just thinking about it now. Like, I went on two dates with girls that I met in college, and both of them I didn't actually meet. One of them I was in a course with, and we're friends now. But very attracted to her. Good looking girl, doing the same course, so obviously, like, both we can relate to that. She's quite intelligent, and there's definite physical attraction for sure. But I got friends on big time. I don't know. I guess I chat maybe too much, or because I sometimes find it hard to show initiative or have goals in life. Like when you do feel quite empty inside and you feel depressed, you are quite flat sometimes and miserable at staying alive. Staying alive. I know it's I get distracted so easily, but it's something that does make it hard to date because I understand where she was coming from. Um, yeah, probably not the best boyfriend material in many ways because have a laugh, like it can be funny, but it's hard for me to get out of bed some days, which I do. Like I always manage somehow, but days can be very challenging for me. So then trying to show like I want what I want to do for my future, and I think a lot of people want to grow up too fast nowadays, and they don't just be in the moment. So they're saying, "What's your ambition? Like, what can you give to me?" And kind of like, why don't we just see where this goes? That'd be my mindset. Let's have a laugh. Let's have some fun. And I hear people talking about getting married and moving in together, like moving into a house together, buying a big fancy house, and you're there going, like, our parents were way more mature than we are. Plus, it was easier to buy a house. There's not a hope in hell of us moving out of our parents' houses for a while, and even if we do, it's not going to be into a big fancy gaff. So, all this real futuristic planning just doesn't really make sense with me. But I'm rambling again. Um, Another girl I was in college with set me up on a date with her friend. She was Hungarian, beautiful, like really good looking girl, studying psychology. Again, definitely attracted to her, and that one in particular, like I kind of felt a bit awkward because I would like to pay for dates. I'm kind of old school like that, but she kind of valued her independence. She asked me if I wanted anything. I kind of felt like, oh, well, I can be honest with her. So I said, oh, yeah, please. And they said, oh, would you like another coffee? I'll get this one. And I paid for that. I don't know if that, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it felt like that threw her off a little. And I kind of thought, well, I offered to pay for everything. I said I even preferred to do that. But I get that you value your independence, and that's fine. No issue with that at all. But I'm also perfectly happy to pay for stuff. In fact, that's why I offer. So like those two girls I was definitely attracted to. Felt like we had a good connection. Never a moment's silence. That's the thing that really got to me. It was like, when it's just awkward. I knew the first ever proper date that I was on that my mate set up, there was no chemistry at all. Right, so felt awkward. Felt like getting blood out of a stone. It was very difficult. Um, Not being bad, just shit happens. It's not everyone you meet you're going to connect with, and I just didn't. And then I met that girl at a party a few years later, and my mate was saying, "Oh, she's a bit tapped in the head," and I kind of thought, "Oh, why?" And he said it, and he was like, "Oh, you had a lucky escape," and I kind of went, "Oh, okay," and you set me up with her. Cheers. But I knew, and I trusted my instincts, and they were definitely right in the end. Not just going out with someone to get something from them, but when you meet someone who you're attracted to physically, and then the conversation flows, I would say I had a great time. Let's do this again. But it's just like, what did I do wrong? I feel like that in a lot of instances, like even talking about job interviews in my other videos, and it does feel awkward. Feels like, what the fuck do I need to do? Um, I thought everything went well. Feel like it couldn't have gone any better, and that's honestly how I feel. And I have previous experience of doing job interviews terribly, where I literally said, "Oh, I lost the head with someone," and then it's like, "Yeah, that was bad, Dan. You shouldn't have said that." So it's like I know what I did wrong. I was like, I shouldn't have said that. Obviously, wasn't thinking straight. Probably shouldn't have even applied for the job. That was a bad idea, but at least I know what not to do now. But then, like, when everything's flowing, you've gotten the information across that you wanted to get across, plus you're laughing and there's back and forth talk with the person you're chatting to, be it the interviewer or the person you're on a date with. Now, I know it sounds a bit weird, a date and an interview, but I think a lot of times it feels like it's getting to know each other. Will you get the job? Will you get the relationship? And I don't look at the two in the same way, but I do think if I have a connection with someone, it feels like they know about me now. We seem to be getting on very well. And I've done a lot of work on myself, like I have. And I needed to because I was quite asocial, as I say, and quite pessimistic, like, that'll never work out, or, this is shit. Oh, all women want this, or they just want to bleed me dry. And no, no. There's a lot of good women out there for sure. But I kind of just felt like, what more do I need to do? Because those ones went really well for me, and they said they had a good time. Now, whether they're lying or not, I don't know. As I say, with the girl I was in the course with, that was friend zoned, big time. And she was just like, "Oh, I think we should just be friends in college, and we'll see what we're doing afterwards." And then she ends up going out with another lad in college, and it's kind of like, all right, clearly it was just a case of I got friend zoned. I understand some people want to let you down gently, but fair enough. Then we moved down here to Wexford. I went on two dates, like two of the girls I worked with actually, so I met them through work. One was an Irish girl, and I guess you call it more. We kind of realised we were friends pretty soon. I would say so. That was kind of like, oh, we'll be mates. We both kind of came to the same conclusion there. Um, but before her, in a previous job I had down here, I met a really good looking Norwegian girl who was quite tall, and Scandinavian people are amazing looking, that's for sure. But with that one, I kind of felt like she wasn't into me, and we went on a date, and we went on another one, and I kept asking to meet up. I kept saying, "Oh, do you want to go out here? Do you want to go out there?" Oh, sorry, I'm working. Okay, no problem. Oh, sorry, I have COVID, or my back's sore, or whatever. Any excuse you can think of. And it was kind of like, all right, fair enough. Look, I don't know, and I'm not going to accuse people of lying. But it seemed like when I kind of went, look, if you're not into me, that's fine. And that's what I say. Like, I'm kind of there thinking, if you're not attracted to me and you don't want to see me again, I don't mind. Not that I don't mind. Like, it's obviously going to be a bit devastating, but kind of like, you don't have to see me if you don't want to. I feel like people string people along so that they have something in the bag until something better comes along, And I kind of was like, all right, I'm definitely being strung along here, because I was stewarding, like just doing security, like a little bit of security work for concerts in Marley Park, near where I used to live in Dublin. just for free tickets, because like I say, I used to go home every day from City West near Tala from working when I was really young, and people going off to concerts and everyone saying to me, "Oh, you're young, you should be living your life," and being like, "They're right, yeah. I'm a real miserable prick here. I need to start enjoying life." And I definitely did. Like looking back on it, I was definitely very judgmental of how people were. It turns out, like if you go and be nice to people, they'll be nice back to you most times. Now there's a lot of snakes out there too. Don't get me wrong. That'll stab you in the back. But I find that most people that you're nice and pleasant to, even if they don't necessarily like you, they'll be nice and pleasant back. You just you just have to be nice. You've got to be open. Like I was very, tense and paranoid. The more I look back on it, I was so paranoid. I remember a manager in my one of my jobs said that to me. I worked in Champion Sports, and I was kind of just like a bit annoyed with him for saying it, but he was also right, And kind of just felt like he was having a go at me, but I kind of thought, look, he's probably right. I always thought, what's their ulterior motive here? And I guess that's not necessarily the most attractive quality that I have. In a lot of ways, I feel like I've been fake, like pretending I'm a certain way when I'm not. I regret being so enclosed and anxious, but I guess you can't really help it. Like I say, I was always surrounding myself in real macho environments to try and feel more masculine, but that only really gets the attention of other men. And I kind of craved that. I was like, oh, Dan's a tough lad, Dan's this, Dan's that, he's a strong lad, he lifts big weight in the gym. Didn't make me happy. Like, you can safely say that, and I was killing myself in the gym for nothing really. I hadn't worked on any social skills, which was my job to do for sure. Um, and I had to work on it for sure. I'm owning up big time to this because kind of a bit annoyed at myself the way I was. You kind of feel like when I was in good shape, like I could see my fucking man tits right now. It's really bothering me. I keep pulling the shirt, but yeah, I kind of just wanted to address that. Like I know I'm not in great shape, but I was. But I had no personality. I had such a shitty personality where I was very tense, enclosed, and actually getting fat made me relax more because I was like, oh fuck the gym. And then I start going out, and now I wasn't healthy, but I start getting a bit more of a personality and meeting up with a friend group like of um, good looking girls, that I'm friends with, and they're very good people. It's not just a case of, oh, look at me, I've got all these friends and they're really good looking. It's like, no, they're good people as well. You kind of make assumptions about good looking girls that they are stuck up or, you know, they're real into themselves, and a lot of them are very shy. And also, like, you think to yourself, Jesus, the way, like, you hear some lads talking about them or whistling at them, it's kind of like, fucking hell. And the way I used to think, I'm kind of disgusted at myself for it, you know? Um, like, you see all these incel videos where they're just not willing to work on themselves and they blame attractive women for everything and good looking fellas as well. Like, maybe it's your fault. Maybe you need to go work on yourself. I'm not saying there's not bad people out there. There is. And like, shame on you if you mock some lad for trying. Like you see these videos where a shy, nerdy looking fella asks a really good looking girl out, and her mates are like taking pictures and videos and going, "You think you've a chance with her?" Like, fucking pathetic. Shame on you for doing that, because the fella has worked up the courage to go over and actually say something. It's like, don't mock someone for doing that. But at the same time, like, lads, don't blame people if you're not working on yourself. I'm still doing it, like, now. Like, I'm far from perfect, but we all are. Um, I just wanted to make that video because I thought it was something I really wanted to touch on. that it has been very awkward for me. And like what I want more than anything would be like a proper long term relationship. Do you know what I mean? Um, don't know if I'm necessarily ready for one now. Um, Probably not if I'm being completely honest, because there's still so much shit that I need to sort out. Plus, I used to go out every weekend, drinking and smoking and whatever, thinking this is my chance to meet a girlfriend. My future wife is only around the corner of this nightclub. Um, like I wouldn't be into one night stands or anything like that, or shagging someone in a public toilet, or disabled, or behind bins. Couldn't think of anything less romantic. Do you know what I mean? Oh, let's move the toilet paper beside the piss stain on the floor. Yeah, that's really romantic, isn't it? Or behind bins, you know. Let's move those smashed beer bottles over a little bit so we can ride. The bin bags are starting to pong. Like, for me, that just never made any sense. You know, if I'm after meeting a girl that I'm attracted to, first thing I'd say is let's get out of this kip. Didn't want to be here in the first place, but it's where everyone seems to go. So, do you ever get that, like, where you're kind of like, oh, you know, I like you, I like you. You want to get out of here, and yet everyone's like, oh, let's go to the nightclub. Baffled me, and I've had better conversations with people in the gym or in bars. That's another spot. Like I like bars, I do, but I'm also trying not to drink. I've been off alcohol for over a month now. Like I said, I actually did 7 months, not 8 months. I was counting it back in my head. Um, and it was the clearest I've ever been. I think if you just go to different environments, then you'll meet people who are more like minded. And I think a lot of people are starting to go, you know, fuck this. I'm in bits drinking all the time. I haven't got the money to be doing it. It'd be nicer just to meet up with people more casually, but maybe for a special occasion we meet up and we go out and we have a bit of a laugh, you know. Shoulders just getting a bit tight. But yeah, like it is something where I want to make a good impression, and I'm a real hopeless romantic when it comes to dating, so it's definitely it's definitely hard for me. And if I go on a date with someone, I'm so nervous about how I'm going to look, or I'm definitely not the most confident. And you know, I want to impress them. I want them to have a good time. If I like them, I'd be kind of like, oh, let's do this again. I had a really good time. If a girl says that to me, I'd be like, oh, absolutely. Maybe there's a few red flags there also if it starts a bit too fast. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I'm glad I decided to finally make this video, and if anyone can relate that has autism to dating or whatever, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Be good. I'm so happy to get the first interview out of the way with Usheen. Shout out to Usheen O'Gara for a good interview. Really impressed with him and how he conducted himself. I will be doing more interviews on this channel for sure. I'd like to get my mate Noel on next. Hopefully even tomorrow if he can. He's back in Ireland, so he's in the army, so he's a very busy schedule. Hopefully get him on soon, as I say, tomorrow, and if not, then whenever, really, whenever he's free. But guys, before I ramble anymore, cheers for watching. I'll see you in the next video.